I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the AFL Enjoys team. We're a bunch of unique individuals, Matsa, Sfenda, and Dean. We're going to engage with our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from your heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay, because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for the ride, join us at the AFL Enjoys podcast, because we really enjoy the footy. Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoyers. My name is Dean. I am joined once again by two fellow enjoyers of the AFL, George Sfenda, James Matsa. How are we doing, boys?
Yeah.
Good, mate.
Matsa doesn't look so good. He's got the glasses on, but I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Smiling too much for the press persona I'm trying to put on. The game wasn't the best. The boys were pretty poor. Struggling to sleep, doing a lot of crying recently. So
Real men cry, Matsa. It's okay. It's okay to show your emotions. You don't have to hide from us, mate.
Thank you. I feel really supported, man. Thank you so much, man. I thought I'd just will all the strength that I could to come and
you're very brave.
Thank you. Just to talk about footy with the boys. I'll try my hardest.
That's it, man.
And,
that's what footy's all about. It's about bringing everyone together, comforting mates.
Yeah, no, that's it, man. It's the uniter of people.
I feel you, Matsa, and I've got my slightly longer facial hair today. I just couldn't muster up the courage to shave and present myself as well as I normally would. So
to lather on the shaving cream would have just been
it's too much.
So difficult.
Too much.
No.
But look, we're in it together.
This is a big change up from last week when the flag rules were flying around.
No. That was a good 2 weeks.
It was.
That was.
And I've forgotten what losing feels like, and it's a sickening feeling.
I can't believe how angry I got, man.
I don't know what you're talking about, though.
We'll get to that. But look, let's start.
That boring game.
We'll get to Carlton soon enough. We'll get to the first game.
Yeah.
The Lions fell to the Dogs. Matza gave his infamous no to the Lions.
Yeah, N-A-W, no. Shout out to Kevin Garnett, KG. That was, that was a bit of a wild take now that I look back on it. But look, Bulldogs hadn't showed anything to that point, sorry.
Bont showed up big time for them.
He did. Sorry for the disrespect, Bont, friend of the pod.
Yeah.
He'll be watching this.
He wasn't happy. He let me know. He watched the pod. He said, Matza, what's going on?
He was really upset.
He did the Ross Lyon round 1. He showed the whole Western Bulldogs our podcast. Disrespect for him. And they had to respond, mate. It wasn't the media, it was us that really put the pressure on Bulldogs.
It wasn't us. It wasn't the media. It wasn't Dunkley. It was us. It wasn't the racism towards Jamara. It was none of that. It was. But I will say, shout out to Jamara for responding. In a really positive way. Did the Nicky Wimmer, kicked 5 goals, kicking on left foot, right foot. Fantastic performance from that kid.
He was great.
Yeah, massive performance. I think he kind of had a breakout game last year. Kicked a couple of goals. This is probably another game where he really announces himself. So he's coming along nicely. Yeah,
and I think overall, though, the game was pretty low in skill. Both teams were turning the ball over an incredible amount. The pressure was up. I think both teams were very desperate to play well, but it wasn't the best watch on a Thursday night. We'd been sort of spoilt in the first few rounds with the early game, which was really exciting, but this one here was a bit flat. But that was just my view on it.
I have to agree.
It was a bit of a boring game, but there's a few little things to take out of it. Bont, whilst not being the cleanest game for me, he led as a captain really well. Put the pressure on, laid a lot of big tackles. He was an enforcer, which we don't really see much from him. So it was cool to see.
Yeah, I mean the Dogs are really strong in the contest. They won 12 to 4 centre bounce clearances, so they've lost that stat massively in the last 2 rounds. Really reversed it. I think they put Treloar back on the ball. His CBAs were up a lot, had 9 clearances, so bit of a change from their perspective in the midfield. But they've got a strong midfield. They've got their midfield that we all kind of look at and go, well, there's a lot of numbers there. Finally showed up. So against a strong one in Brisbane as well. Yeah,
no, good time to show the true colours. So good on him.
And they had the debutant. Is his name Arthur Jones? That's who he is, isn't he? He was fantastic. I didn't want to get his first name wrong, but Arthur, I believe it is. Arthur Jones.
Artie Jones.
He was really electrifying in the forward 50, gave him a bit of point of difference. We know they've got the tall forwards, but someone had to be there at ground level to give him a bit of X factor, and I thought he was fantastic.
He couldn't get off the field as well at the end of the game. You know, he wanted to keep celebrating with the
Yeah.
fans. You know, he really enjoyed himself. So that's what you want to see, man. That's what you want to see.
Love that.
What did you guys make just before we move on Danaher and Hipwood?
I don't know. What do you reckon, mate?
I'm not a massive fan of these boys, man. I think Brisbane. I'm jumping on a bit of the bandwagon now because they're going to cop a lot of slack in the media, I think, this week. But I think if Brisbane are going to consider themselves a genuine premiership threat, their tolls are just not good enough.
I think they need to be better. And what's tough about those two and Gunston as well is that none of them are that hulking, big, strong, physical forward when they really could be because they're all very tall. But yeah, they don't have that hardworking, McStay, crash packs type dude. So
They did last year.
they did. Oh no, yeah. He didn't McStay though.
Well, I think from my point of view, the way I see it, Danaher always seems to make a nuisance of himself inside the 50. So I think he's trying his best. He maybe not getting the success that we're used to from him, but when it comes to Hipwood, I think he just doesn't offer enough in the air. Someone like him really relies on quality ball use in the 50 to give him the advantage, and he's just not doing enough. So yeah, you're right. I think we had him flagged for a top 4 berth. I think that was me that in the first ever pod thought maybe they'd be. Did I say? I thought they'd come first. If I'm not mistaken. So, geez, that's not looking too good at the moment.
Yeah,
I think they'll be all right. They'll respond, but I think there's some glaring issues with those big tolls.
they really do need to respond though, don't they? Let's
They do. I'll tell you which team doesn't need to respond, boys. The Pies.
the Pies. Nah, they're
Fireworks out for the flag pies, mate. Celebrating early.
What was that?
Why not?
Round 3 victory in the rain. Fireworks going off at the G. Someone please explain what happened there. But
Yeah, maybe the fireworks were expiring or something, and they just needed to get rid of them. The MCG is like, look, we paid all this money for fireworks. It's expensive. We got to get rid of them.
Big
Let's
crowd
go.
though for a wet night, 85,000. So at least they got their money's worth.
True,
Not in the
true.
quality of the game, but fireworks are pretty
well
cool.
done to everyone that went
Hey.
out in the rain. 85,000. That's incredible.
Mm.
I don't think you get that anywhere in the world, to be honest. That many people showing up to a game in the wet, but
Maybe like a Brazilian soccer game or something. I reckon they'd rock up.
potentially, mate.
Yeah, or Argentina, like River Plate versus whoever the other Argentinian team is. Is it called River Plate?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There you
Boca
go.
Juniors, the other
Boca
one?
Juniors. There we go, man.
But yeah, look, the Pies. I mean, they just play the most fun footy. You know, that's the in vogue sort of way to describe the way they want to play, make it fun. But it's not just that. Some of the defensive displays from Darcy Moore, Nathan Murphy, Quainer, they're just mixing the grit and the IQ in defense with beautiful movement going forward. And they're just deadly, even in the wet, when it mattered most. They just get the goals and kill the game off. So couldn't be more impressed with the Pies, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they're definitely the team to beat. They haven't really faltered at all against good opposition to start off the season. So, I mean, they're also number 1 in ground ball gets as well. And they smashed inside 50s against the Tigers. They really should have won by a lot more. They were just wasteful in front of goal early, a couple of posters, a couple of misses. They could have blown the game absolutely apart in the first half. So Tigers were probably lucky to hold on a bit. Had their third quarter kind of spree. But Pies just too good. Way too good.
Yeah. I did think of an idea also, boys. Just speaking of the wet weather footy earlier, I've come up with an idea how to fix wet weather football once and for all.
Okay.
It's pretty simple, okay? You walk on over to Kmart, you go to the sports section where all the balls are. You don't get a nice football like this one. No. You get the one below this one. $20, the footy with the little circle grips on it.
The under 12s footy.
The under 12 footy with a grip on it. Buy a bunch of those, cost effective, and then all of a sudden the quality of games goes up in the wet. You're welcome, AFL.
Skills go up. It's cheaper footy as well, so we're saving money.
So more fireworks then.
More
money
fireworks.
for
More fireworks at the
More
footy.
fireworks in the budget.
That's it, man.
That's not a bad theory. I've thought of an expensive theory actually.
Go for it.
Daniel Andrews, who controls the weather, just have a look at the fixture. Have a look at the big games. Just stop it from raining.
You know what? Interesting.
There we go. We'll put that forth.
We'll
as
poke
well.
that one.
Tell us what you think
and
in the
the
comments.
and the
My
Vic
idea or
government.
George's?
It could be both. We could work as a team. I don't know.
You know what? Always better in a team, George. Always better in a team.
What about the Tigers? What do you make of them?
It's
They
hard.
had some injuries.
They did have some injuries. It's hard to judge in the wet weather footy against a really solid outfit. I think credit to them for hanging in there. I don't have too much to say about them in projecting forward. I'm not sure this game says much about their season.
Yeah, well, Dusty and Hopper, they're very good very very good players. Hopper gets first use of the ball. Dusty actually has that class which they probably lacked in the rain. So that'll help him going forward. But yeah,
The other thing is Pies have to find a way to cover Darcy Cameron, who's been in razor hot form. Six to 8 weeks, I think it is, and Mason Cox is injured as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that impacts them.
Are they still paying part of Brody Grundy's contract? Or am I imagining it?
Probably.
Because I
Probably,
reckon
yeah.
maybe he can come over and give him a bit of game time.
He's
you know?
already giving a spell to Maxi Gorn, I think.
I
Matsa,
know.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a bit of a dilemma there, but I think if any team can come up with a way to work around that, then it'd be the Pies at the moment.
Oh, for sure.
What's Sidebottom and Pendlebury drinking and eating? Because there's something in that food. There's some sort of potion that's keeping them youthful.
They're watching. Is it Huberman? They're watching his
Yeah,
videos. That's anti-aging videos, and they're doing ice baths and eating veggies.
They're
and
just not
whatnot.
slowing down at all. That is a big part of their success has to be because they've got the skills, they've got the decision making, they've got the running players around them. I mean that, and adding a superstar Dacos just from the draft that's already a superstar. That's one of the reasons why they've just launched themselves.
Yeah, I mentioned it last week. Sidebottom really impressed me. Obviously, Pendlebury we've mentioned before. Their leadership is the best in the comp at the moment. It's still maintaining their leg speed enough, and the skills just not going away. So, absolutely incredible. And speaking of Dacos, obviously Nick gets all the plaudits. I just want to shout out Josh as well. He was fantastic on Friday night.
Yeah, he's a really, really good form this season, Joshy. It's kind of weird. They have to say the full names of those guys whenever they get the ball. You know,
They get so much of it as well.
Yeah, I
It doesn't
know.
help.
So they have to say Josh Dacos.
I think we're going to
Dacos of the Josh variety, the Nick variety, you know? They're going to be very creative with the way they say their names.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, we're all going to have to get used to it, I think. Jeez.
Yeah.
I also just wanted quickly to shout out someone who's got probably more pace, actually unmatched by only one person, sitting right next to me, George Sfenda.
Yeah,
McCreary for the Pies.
Georgie's Jets, man,
Mate.
versus McCreary.
McCreary versus George in a race. Make it happen.
100 subs and I'll race McCreary.
Better watch out, McCreary.
100 subs, 1 meter per sub.
So this
I'm
is
down for it.
Mythbusters, man. Is McCreary that fast, really?
For the
find
record,
out.
I would put all my living money on George to win that race.
You're going to be on the street very soon, mate. if you do
Hey,
that.
your betting's as good as your tips, man.
Well, you know what? Speaking of that, nice transition.
Yeah.
We need to get to it.
Here's a lost tip.
North v the Hawks.
Kanga.
Look, North did not play well.
Nah.
Hawthorn played well enough, I think. That's the headline of that game. It wasn't a pretty one. We didn't have LDU. He was very late out.
LDU and Simpkin.
Simpkin was out.
Big
Between
outs.
the two, they average about 15 clearances. We lost the clearance battle by about 20.
Yeah, but it was let's have a look. It was 43 clearances to 24.
Yeah, we just couldn't win the
That's-
ball out of the centre. Couldn't get the game on our terms. And
Yeah.
Hawthorn was very desperate for a win, desperate to prove themselves. They played their best game of the year.
Yeah.
Guys like Will Day, Jiath, Warple.
Yeah, they've got one in Day.
Yeah.
They better give him a contract
more as well.
now. They better give him a contract now before he starts asking for big money.
Yeah. So Hawthorn was really up for it. North gave a lot of effort, but the skill just wasn't there. And when you lose your two best clearance players, you're relying on an aging Cunnington, who's a really good leader, but he doesn't play full-time minutes anymore.
He can't dominate a game and win a game on his own like he used to at this point. Maybe he'll get that by the end of the season when he's got a few more reps and, maybe he's back to form. But I think the thing for me was Tom Powell and Will Phillips. They'll give him the opportunity to get midfield time and to shine, and they were all right, but just all right.
Yeah.
Like I was hoping one of them would just have a huge breakout game, with 8-9 clearances, 15 plus contested posies, and just really shine. But it didn't really happen, which was a little bit disappointing.
And credit to the Hawks as well. Not only did they win the clearance, but they controlled the game with all their uncontested marking and really short kicks around the ground. So North just couldn't stifle them in any way,
Yeah.
whether it be in the clearance or around the ground. So
Well, I think I sent you guys a screenshot of the stats, and
Yeah,
it was
they
all
dominated.
green. It was
Yeah.
all green on the Hawthorn side.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to give a little shout out to a guy. We'll give him flowers as well. Might as well hand them out.
fair enough. might as well.
He hasn't played a game of footy. I think it was since round 23, 2021, something like that. Tyler Kent Brockman. He was
3 goals, isn't it? 3 goals.
Yeah, 3 goals, and he hasn't played for a while. Good to see him get back on the field because he's an exciting player. Got in amongst it. So yeah, good on him.
what do you, as North Melbourne fans, right? Obviously, very excited started to the season, and that was justified. Now coming into this game, favourites to win. It would have been amazing if you guys won that and kept up the momentum into the Carlton game. But where do you think North Melbourne kind of sits now? Because it gives you a little bit more context now, more games in. Where do you kind of see them as a team?
I think from my point of view, I was never overconfident coming into this game because obviously the LDU out, the Simpkin out, but North Melbourne hasn't won a game by more than 10 points in about 3 years. So great that we've won the first 2 rounds in close games. But I was never of the opinion that we're 4 or 5 goal favourites or anything like that. So I think until we can start winning games, but also winning games relatively convincingly, that's when I'll start thinking, okay, we're making real progress. We've certainly made a jump up this year, but I would say we're probably in that 12th to 16 range of the ladder. I don't think we're the worst team. I think we'll win some more games this year, but it's one thing to win a few games, another thing to be a good side and win by more than a few goals.
Yeah. We showed our reliance on LDU and Simpkin that if they're not there, then the clearances, it didn't happen against, let's be honest, not the best midfield. So
they were hungry, the Hawks, though. You have to give them that.
That is
wanted
true.
to win.
They really wanted to win, especially against Clarko, against the guy who left them. You know what I mean?
True.
Sammy Mitchell against his mentor. They wanted that big time.
Yeah, good response from Mitchell. He had to front up the media. A lot of criticism on the rebuild. So to kind of respond with the win straight away kind of silences the critics at least for a little while.
Just clicked to me. It was your family were very disappointed with Sam Mitchell calling for his head. What were they saying this week? They mention anything? Or
they were a bit too surprised that Hawthorn was able to win a game against North Melbourne. I think the 2-0 for North, maybe they were of the opinion that North is better than I think they are. And they thought Hawthorn was a bit worse than they actually are. So it was sort of a bit too off in the opinion of either side, which made them pleasantly surprised in the victory. But I think when you consider all things, North being still an inexperienced team without a couple of their best players, Hawthorn desperate, coming off 2 embarrassing losses early in the season, it's not really that surprising to me that a result like this can happen. But yeah, they're on watch. They're on watch.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of boring games, the next one.
George, take it away.
I'm not going to defend the Blues this week. That was probably the worst game I've seen in, I don't know how many years, but a very, very long time. Just the level of skill. It was actually torture to watch that game. I actually got up and made some tea in the start of the 4th quarter. I came back 10 minutes in and asked my dad, "Are we winning?" He's like, "Nah." So I don't know. It just wasn't.
What kind of tea, George?
It was, I think it was chamomile with honey.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to chamomile with honey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that tea was more interesting than this game.
Give it its flowers, that honey.
Give it the chamomile its flower.
Chamomile is a flower, right?
Yeah, that's it. Give the flower its flowers. Man.
Is it a flower? It's a flower.
Is.
Yeah,
that's it.
Shout out to chamomile. Yeah, no, it's I don't know, man. We got the win. We kind of delete the footage and move on. I think it's just one of those ones.
Yeah. If we're gonna say anything cool, it was like Cripper versus Kelly and Tom Green.
It was Cripper versus the world. He 42 possessions, career high, 13 clearances.
Career high.
Yeah, 42.
You would have thought that he would have had like a 45 or something, considering how much
I think next week he might have a 45, but
captain him in Supercoach.
Yeah, I think so. A monster effort from him. He carried the team on the back. I think Kelly was playing with the dry ball. Maybe he had, gone to Kmart earlier, picked up a different ball, but. Just one of those games where it's just really hard to watch. If you're a supporter or a non-supporter, very, very difficult. And really the only interesting part was probably the main talking point, which is the...
just about to say, if you didn't mention it, I would have.
Go ahead, mate.
Okay. Umpires. Look, the dissent rule when it first came out was controversial and, let's be honest, a fail. Getting a free kick against for simply putting your arms out and things like that is just an unrealistic expectation of an AFL footballer, in my opinion. And obviously, if they're abusing and swearing the umpires, fair enough. But George, the Blues are up against it. They're down. And then in the goal square...
I think Vossi made a call, mate.
Yeah, someone's made a call.
He's paid someone under the table, I think.
And look, usually I would just say broadly the umpires were bad or that umpire was bad, but I've actually dug up a bit of research here. Name and shame. I'm sorry. We name and shame the players and give them praise when they deserve it.
Yeah.
Craig Fleer. That's the umpire's name.
Fleer.
Craig Fleer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
spell it
it's-
out so everyone can
Yeah, that's
harass him on social media.
no, because that's
No
a
harassment needed. But all I'm
Yeah.
going to say is that is a shameful decision in a close game to literally gift the team a goal. And this isn't of any thoughts I have on Carlton if they deserve the win or not. They may have still won the game, but when there's a few minutes to go in such a close, low-scoring game, you cannot literally gift a team a goal right in the goal square for that. And there's the recordings they've played on Fox Footy today showing what was actually said, and it was not abusive. It was nothing even close to that. And a few minutes later, Mitch McGovern did the exact same thing on the boundary line on the wing, put his arms out, wanted a free kick. No free kick was given to the Giants. So I think, honestly, it's disgusting.
and
he
on
should
the
be
wing
ashamed
as well. So
should be ashamed of himself. Yeah.
Yeah, on the wing, that's like less what's the word? Consequences there. Might as well have given it there, not in front of the goal.
It's actually disgusting. Like,
yeah.
Look, I spat out my chamomile tea when I saw that decision, to be honest with you. I was gobsmacked. And, you know, it's one of those ones where it's like, all right, well, we'll take the goal, but I don't think that's right. Look, the thing is if it was the right decision, and I don't think it was, right? If it's the right decision, whether it's paid in the back line or the front or in front of the goal, if it's the right decision, you pay it. If
Correct.
the consequence is a goal, it's a goal. But you're right. They were really hot on dissent when it first came out. I remember round 1, Carlton versus Richmond. Richmond gave away like 7 50-meter free kicks for dissent. So they were hot on it to get everyone to change their behaviours. This year, I don't think that's kind of how it's been adjudicated.
Yeah,
So
they can let it die. I think that rule, like they do a lot of rules. And the thing is, as Dean and I, we used to play futsal up till very recently. And can you imagine you see a bad decision from the ref, and not at least one of these or saying something to him, and if they gave a free kick or a yellow card for it, I think honestly we'd probably beat him up after the game.
no one would play, firstly.
Yeah, no one would play. We'd be like, no, why are we paying
It's
for
so
this?
true, and that's part of sport, and obviously that's at a very low level. These are professionals.
yeah, this is high pressure stuff. You can't expect no response at all. They're not robots.
And
so-
even later that day in the Saints match, I think it was Jack Higgins.
he lost his
He
shit.
lost it at the umpire. Nothing happened. So it's literally just one umpire's emotions or something that's
No, he
caused
got
him
the
to
call.
make the
He
decision.
got the call from Vossi. They
Yeah,
said-
he must have.
They said, get us over the line, mate. Finals this year.
In the earpiece, man.
Last week it was turning
Yeah.
off the lights. Now it's making a call.
Yeah,
Man,
I was gonna say
Anything to win, baby.
Anything to win.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's another like throwback to like basketball, but a legend of the game, Tim Duncan. He was thrown out of a game because he was laughing on the bench.
Yeah,
Because some umpires, refs, whatever, they just can't. Their ego is just
it's just not on,
inflated.
in my opinion. They can't go outside the rules and make a call that they wouldn't call anywhere else, which literally didn't happen. Again, like I said, a few minutes later, same game. So
The thing is, because it ended up influencing the game, the momentum, obviously Carlton won by 10 points, so they kicked another goal after that. But what I would say from a Carlton perspective is if they just kick straight, 9 goals, 20,
correct.
and we were 30 points up, you know, it'd be talked about, but not with the same level of intensity. So
Fair enough. And I think we can move on to the next game, which in my opinion is probably game of the round. Port v the Crows. Very entertaining battle there at Adelaide Oval. Thanks very much, Port, for the top 10 pick because you're locked out of the 8.
shout out to Port.
Shout
man.
out Port. Shout out Ken Hinkley, who, again, I'll say what I said in the first pod.
Big North Melbourne supporter.
First coach to be sacked. Oof. That prediction's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Port have a lot of senior players, and they're all talk, in my opinion. Dixon, great player. By the way, I like these players. Dixon,
but I think
Wines.
he's playing. I think Dixon's playing good footy. He's
I like
he's
him.
so critical
Yeah.
to their team.
But there's so many of their players at the back as well. Jonas.
Jonas, yeah, not playing well.
Yeah, but he's meant to be a good player. He's the leader. He's the captain.
Yeah.
Wines, Boak, Dixon, Butters, Rozzy. So many good players on this list and so much talk from their coach. And they just flopped in the biggest game of their season to their bitter rivals.
Against the team who's in a similar sort of situation to them where they're fighting for the 8. That's where you got to step it up. Yeah.
Well, the Crows, we backed in the Crows in the tips, and they finally paid us off because we've backed them in, I think, 3 times now.
Yeah, true, actually.
But they kind of finally played the footy we expected them to play. You know, they had the intensity for the 4 quarters, and you know they blew them away in the last quarter. Rankin has been a massive inclusion.
He's a superstar.
yeah,
mate.
he's really influential.
R&R, Rankin and Rochelle.
Yeah, both of them. Rochelle getting some midfield minutes as well. He's a dominant force, but Rankin's just a freak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they also got 5 goals from Thrillthorpe.
Thrillthorpe.
Yeah.
He did that overhead goal again. He did that in his rookie year as well.
One thing I got to say, 2020 draft or 2021 draft, whatever the draft was where it was Jamara and then Thilthorpe, that's 10 goals between pick 1 and 2 in the week. That's the best footy that they've played.
Yeah.
And it's happened at the same time. That's kind of cool.
It's a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
So
So
both
now
of them sort of floundering a little bit.
yeah, now that draft is actually looking okay now. So was it Wilfill at 3 that year?
Yes.
I believe so. So and then it goes. There's a few other decent players in there. Hollands. What's the guy from
Elijah Hollins, yeah.
Elijah Hollins. It's starting to look like a slightly better draft now. So that's cool.
Absolutely. And in my opinion as well, yeah, Thilthorpe, considering he's been in and out of the side and, like you said, a high-end draft pick, to kick 5 in such a massive game, really impressive. Rankin, some of the plays he was doing and just the now surrounding goals that he has is just probably the best in the league, to be honest, for that specific role. Really fun to watch.
Commentators lose their mind when Rankin's on the field.
Fair
man.
enough.
They love him, man, and it's good because then they get excited, and it's hard not to mirror that excitement when they get it. So yeah,
It's just like any time it's a forward 50 contest, watch Rankin. He's on the bench.
Yeah, that's it.
He's on the bench.
He could do anything.
He's on the bench. He could still kick a goal here. What I will say, though, even though it was a very entertaining game, I think it was anticlimactic with the medal giving to Dawson.
Yeah.
That's weird.
You've got Rankin, like we said, Thilthorpe kicking 5. Dawson was
give it
good.
to one of the young
And
guys.
even
man.
Rory Laird had a big game too, like 10 something clearances. Surely, I mean, Rosie for Port, you're not going to give it to a Port, but he was...
No,
but-
he had a good game.
But what are you doing, mate? They just
Everyone-
wanted to give him back to back.
Yeah. Everyone in the crowd was sort of like, oh, yeah.
Dawson, he played. He was alright.
Captain.
Yeah, no, I think they still got that after this.
Maybe they had the old papers and they saw he was the winner for last year.
That's it. They thought, he kicked the goal, to win the game.
They
Wow.
muddled
He
up
kicked
their
the sealer.
dates. They kicked the sealer.
Yeah.
Could be. Conspiracy theory.
Any thoughts on the prison bar jerseys as well?
Um.
I think Eddie said enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Port,
Yeah.
they're... I just really like laughing at Port, but they're in the biggest game of the year against their rivals, putting on their big, tough prison bar jerseys and just, mate,
Yeah.
that's, unfortunate.
That is. They played like a SAFL side, with the prison bar jerseys.
I know. Thanks again for the top 10 pick.
Exactly. We look forward to it massively.
The other game
Wiz is coming
that
to the team.
the other game that was on same time, also a very interesting game. Saints against the Bombers.
Yeah, I think that was first. So you kind of skipped them. I'm like, please
Did
don't
I?
skip.
Oh, I was-
Please don't skip that game.
No, we're not skipping it.
Yeah, nah.
The
That's
Saints is marching on to another win.
That's it, man. The Saints.
Talk
are
about your boys,
coming.
mate. Talk about your boys.
Talk about they are my boys,
Hype
man.
them up.
Like this is a team with going to this game 14 players on the injury list, and they come out. They're a fantastic team, man. Jack Steele was out, so Brad Crouch decided, what, I'm going to be the dude that I was meant to be when I came in. He played really well. Joe Watson's cousin, Seb, was really good. He had like 500 meters gained for an inside mid. That's crazy.
What about Mason Wood, mate?
Mate,
3 votes.
Wood, though.
3 votes.
Give
for
the
Wood.
flowers. Give the flowers.
We got to give the flowers to Mason Wood, man. Like he kicked that goal against Sydney that one time for North, where that was one of the most exciting times as a
Kicked that
football
one
fan.
goal.
Never
that one
forget,
goal.
man. Never forget.
Yeah, never forget, man. Never forget. Yeah, shame he got injured towards the end of the game, but hopefully it's a speedy recovery and he can play again this week, so he can become an All-Australian winger. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, and I did have a few Bombers mates of mine saying, can't wait till the Bombers win so we can have a laugh at you on the pod for shitting on us. And then,
We said hold off on the Bombers. They haven't beat anyone.
See, that's our only good prediction / tip of the year is that
They fell really low, and we're like, oh, that's probably going to be higher. Maybe.
I will say this though, like in all honesty,
Yeah.
they did impress me getting back into the game. They
Yeah.
had the game tied up in the last quarter, 13 minutes to go, I believe. It was still a tied game, and the Saints just hit another gear.
Yeah.
Guys like Jack Higgins, Butler, fantastic.
Ridley had a good game actually for Essendon as well.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
Essendon,
Popped
when
up.
they spend so much time working themselves back into the game after a 30-point deficit, if Saints get one goal back against the flow, it just kills them, and that's kind of what happened in the last quarter, and they broke away. But credit to the Saints. I mean, as you mentioned, their injury list is really terrible, and it actually got worse as well with Wood potentially missing. I think Webster was the other one as well.
Well, they just got Webster back.
Yeah, So I don't know how it's going to have to run out their luck eventually. But it's not luck; it's hard work. And Ross, no loss again this week.
Ross, no loss,
Ross,
man.
no loss. And I will say, well done to the Saints. 150-year anniversary. A nice ceremony before the game, celebrating their history. Not a dig at all, but one flag. Like, I was actually surprised. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
150 years, one flag.
1966, I
Something
believe.
like that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Man, they showed Tony Lockett. That is the scariest looking dude I've ever seen. Even though he's not as like big and bulky as he was back in the day, even as a skinny, tall dude, man, and he's not even that. He's probably not even skinny.
He's more in shape now than he was when he was playing.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, no, I would not mess with that dude. He's just got that like psycho look in his eye where you know that like I feel like if you approached him in the street, he'd just clock you straight away. You know? But yeah.
Fair enough, mate.
Shout out to the pig. Was it Plugger?
Plugger. Yeah,
Plugger,
big
that's
Plugger.
it.
I will say as well, something I found funny in the game was first 2 goals for the Saints off 50-meter penalties from Redmond, and silly ones as well. Both of them were, one was right deep in the pocket, so a tough shot on goal. The other one was 50 out, again, pretty deep in the pocket. So he's literally just gifted 2 goals. So nice one, Mason.
Shout out Redmond.
Shout out Redmond, mate. Okay, so that was Saturday, boys. And then we go to Sunday, and wow, we had an interesting upset.
Our boys.
Cats are 0-3. Our boys, the Sunnies.
It would have been a really hard narrative to sell to see, you know, Geelong go 0-3.
But here we are. Jeez.
Here we are,
Mate,
man.
they're finished. I'm calling it now. They're finished.
Finished.
That's it.
They're dead last on the ladder at the moment.
They're old, man. They're old. They've done they amazing last year. They did what they needed to do, and then the arthritis is kicking in, mate. Tomahawk.
Winter's
mate.
hit early. It's a bit cold.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What-
Yeah. Selwood's gone.
Selwood's got. So Selwood was the guy.
Maybe he was.
He kept them together.
Maybe, yeah. Now his reputation is going to go up. You know, who would have thought after his career would go up? But yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, there's a bit of a rebuild on the fly happening, or so it seems anyway, with giving Radaglia it obviously maybe more so due to injuries, if anything, but he's playing at the back there. They've got Tanner Bruin and Bose in. And Tomahawk's recovering from an injury in the off-season, so he's not anywhere
He's
near his
nowhere
best.
near
But
his best. Yeah.
ultimately, though, how about the Suns? Jack Lukosius, 5 goals. He got roasted by David King on first, what's it called?
First crack.
First crack.
he needed to respond, and he did.
He needed to respond. Kingy gave it to him. Always likes showing some footage of his lack of effort on the weekly show there, but he was fantastic. That goal he kicked from, what was it, George?
73 meters, I think.
73 meters out.
73.2, I think. Something
If
like
you haven't
0.2,
seen
yeah,
it,
0.2,
search it
right.
up. That's incredible. Iced
Yeah.
the game with a few minutes to go.
that. And they were laughing at him for, he's like, for lining it up as well, man. But he keeps proving people wrong, man.
It's fantastic. And then
Today was his day.
yeah, Wits in the middle, just monster in the ruck. Took Miller doing his thing. Noah Anderson was good. Really good to see the Sunnies get their first win of the season. But the Cats, mate, I think it says more about the Cats than it does
Yeah,
the
it's a
Suns,
big
to be
story.
honest.
The Cats are a big story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Every team, every year, teams drop out of the 8 that you don't really expect. Could it be Geelong? They
Possibly,
haven't done themselves any favors. That's for sure.
They haven't, and yeah, it's a very hard narrative to sell. But hey, this is the life we're living at the
But
moment.
sell it,
boys.
baby, sell
Let's
it.
Sell it. Jeez. But yeah, that was a really shocking result there, but really happy for the Suns. And then the Demons took care of the Swans, boys. The Swans hadn't really played anyone of substance yet. They did play the Suns and the Hawks, 2 very convincing victories. They've come up against another top 4 favourite and just gotten whacked.
Yeah, Melbourne were very strong today. Very, very strong. I think Stephen May coming back makes a big difference for them. He's obviously the general. I think a noticeable difference. And Melbourne, they really just dominated from turnover today. So it wasn't as much of a contested dominance or strength in the midfield type of performance. It was just a really kind of slingshotty game. And pressure on, you could tell there were 2 good teams, but Melbourne were just better at executing. So they've kind of put themselves higher in my books, I think, at the moment, Melbourne.
Yeah. I was going to say that they've got a pretty decent backup ruck. What's the guy's name? They go
Starts with a B.
Jackson?
Jackson. Yeah, Luke
Luke
Jackson.
Jackson?
Nah, Brody Grundy, man. That he did his that was like a Collingwood Grundy performance. Went out there, got the big Supercoach score. That's all we want to see, man. It's exciting.
And speaking of Supercoach scores, Melbourne's top players, obviously it doesn't paint the full picture, but
Yeah.
in no order, May, Hunter, Langdon, Clary, Petrarca, and Grundy. So you've got your ruck and your on-ballers, your wingers, and your best defender. I think if that's happening,
It paints the story.
They're going to be hard to beat if that's the case.
They got some value out of Chandler and Van Ruin as well. 3 goals each. So some different avenues to goal. They took off Ben Brown, who was having no impact, and brought in Melsham. Got a bit more of a mobile forward line. And they really blew away in the last quarter.
Van Ruin tore up the VFL last year. Just couldn't crack into the side. But he's one to watch. He's a very good player. Sydney as well. Look, bit of PTSD from the grand final. They haven't played at the G since the grand final. They've come back there and just copped another whacking. So
they still played okay. I think the score really blew out at the end. It was a competitive game, so they're still obviously a good team, but just not as good as Melbourne today.
Yeah, fair enough. And then another interesting game. Unfortunately for the Eagles, they got a lot of injuries, which we'll touch on. But Freo got the job done over there in WA. It was a very intense game to start with. A lot on the line. Both teams not having the start to the season they would hope, especially Freo. But they got their first win of the season. No thanks to some injuries, so I'll just read it out. Shuey, McGovern, Cripps, Witherden, and then Ryan all went down. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and obviously, Ryan, McGovern, and Shuey, that's probably 3 of their top 5 players, just about, or maybe around about that, maybe top 3 of the top 7, maybe. Just experience. McGovern he's everything in their defense, and Liam Ryan just provides such a X factor up forward. It's going to be rough. It's bad for this season.
It's disappointing because they're starting to play better footy, and you can tell there's a real emphasis on moving the ball quicker, a bit more action and fast-paced movement, which is kind of, they were playing a pretty boring style round one. So they were playing good footy. It was competitive, and then a bloodbath. So hopefully they're not long-term injuries for these players. Otherwise, West Coast is just going to be easy beats.
I hope so too. And from Freo's point of view, I gave quite a bit of stick last week to Luke Jackson. The partnership between him and Sean Darcy has just been a fail so far this year, but both of them were incredible today. So shout out to them. Once again, an example of people listening to the pod and responding to us. So
we're doing a massive service. So
we are. You're welcome, Freo fans.
That's it.
I don't have too much more to say about the game other than well done to the Eagles for fighting hard. Oscar Allen looked really good as well. But yeah, when you're down to 1 or no guys on the bench for a quarter and a half, it's going to be really tough. So,
and there's a lot of younger guys out there with not much experience. Like they probably have, Chesser, Long, Hewitt. They're all very...
And Gimby as well.
Gimby, yeah. They're all Gimby, Zimby, or Zimmy. They've a lot of youth there. So it's hard for them to, you can't expect them to run out of game without any subs. Makes it tough.
And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the week, boys. Was there any other talking points before we move on to our weekly tips? Actually, speaking of the tips, we should probably go through how we went on. So let's go right back to the beginning. So we obviously tipped the Lions in the infamous Noel call. So we got that one wrong, 0-1. Then we got the Pies right, 1-1. We all went North, so we're 1-2. We went Carlton, so we're 2-2. We went the Saints 3-2, and we went Adelaide 4-2. So things were looking not too bad Saturday night. But then today we got the Cats game wrong, obviously. So 4-3 there. We actually went Sydney, didn't we? Yeah, so we're 4-4, and then we've gone Freo. So I believe we did go Freo. So we've ended 5-4. Is that correct?
Not terrible.
Not terrible, but a few upsets in there. Maybe we should have gone Melbourne. That's probably the big regret.
We probably should start tipping properly instead of just picking our favourite teams.
We'll start trying now. We haven't been trying up until now.
Yeah, time to respond.
It's time for us to respond on the tips, man.
All right. Well, no better opportunity to respond than Thursday night. The Lions hosting the Pies. The Hot Pies.
The Hot Pies. How can you tip against them?
Yeah,
They're leading the G, though, for the first time this season, aren't they? That's interesting. Or maybe not.
You can't tip. I can't tip against them.
They look too good, man.
Yeah, it's
everyone in their team is playing well. Everyone's in form in that team.
Unless Oscar McInerney against Noah Ruckman just goes crazy, but even then,
That is their one major opportunity. Is in the middle of the ground, but we'll see. I'm still going Collingwood.
Yeah, I'm fine with Pies.
That's it. Because even then, Tom Mitchell and all those and to go with, they're still good inside mids. They don't even need a ruckman to tap it down to them.
Yeah, fair enough.
They'll find it.
And then the big one now, Good Friday, North Melbourne and Carlton.
Huge game.
We will be going, the three of us.
We will be.
You can expect some content. We're not sure how it's going to work out, but some match day experience will be posted to YouTube and
if you
Instagram.
see us, come say hello. Take a picture. Matsa's signing T-shirts. So
that's it, man. I'll bring a Sharpie.
Yeah, bring a Sharpie.
Yeah.
That's it. And some news today, actually, Griffin Logue has been handed a one-match suspension. So no Ben Mackay, no Griffin Logue. We should have LDU and Simpkin back.
Yeah, that's
Mate, under the roof, you boys are in trouble, man.
Yeah, look, honestly, Kerno and Mackay with no defence is one of the worst nightmares you'll have. But I think if this season has shown us anything, is that
Here we go.
you can expect the unexpected in AFL.
absolutely.
The Suns, everyone laughed. They got the job done. Okay.
Man.
North against Freo last week, everyone laughed. They got the job done. Hawthorn this week, underdogs got the job done. So you know what? North's going to get the job done.
Get stuffed, man.
I'm going
There's
North.
no chance, mate. What are you doing, Matsa?
You go first. You go first.
No,
That's fine.
Blues.
Blues. All right, fair enough.
So it's 1-1.
Not just because I
Matsa.
want them to win, but because they're going to win. So
Fair enough. Well, look, I think with LDU and Simpkin back, I think we win the midfield battle. So
this is the problem with 2 against 1, mate. We need a 4th member.
I'm gonna go with North Melbourne. Actually, I think they're it's 7th versus 3rd, and it's our home game technically. So yeah, I'm gonna go with North.
King of Marvel.
King
Zerha's going to be playing.
That's it. Do you guys have a guy who's the king of Marvel?
I'm pretty sure Larky kicked 7 on Carlton a few years ago.
That's it, man. And then if he kicks 7 again, there's a song for him.
LDU's better than...
I'm debuting a Nick Larky song.
So let's put. What happens when Carlton wins? Like, what are you guys doing?
Huh?
Well, then, well done. The favourites won.
Nah,
Yeah,
it can't
cool.
be like
Against
that,
no
man.
defence.
There's gonna be some bets, some topless running in the street or something like that.
Nah, no one wants to see that from me.
Oh,
man.
look, you'll just have a bit of banter. Bit of ammunition against us, but that's okay.
Hey, but if North win though, oof.
If
Oof.
North win, you won't
Oof.
see me. You won't see me.
North wins.
He quits the pod.
George
Yeah,
is
I'm
wearing a North cap on the next pod.
All right,
let's go to the next one.
Done.
So we've got North there, I think.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
Backing
next
the
one.
underdogs. Yeah, next one's Adelaide hosting the Dockers.
Yeah,
So
you
both
know
teams
what?
got their first win of the season this week.
Crows, baby.
Crows at home.
Crows, baby, crows. Let's go.
Crows, baby. Crows.
Yeah, done. Richmond hosting the Dogs at the G.
Ooh, that's a tough one as well.
I think the Tigers.
Yeah,
They're getting Hopper back, right?
they're getting Hopper back. They should get Dusty back. They should win. Yeah, I'll go with Tigers as well.
Dogs were very sloppy. I mean, albeit in a win, but good for them. Got their first 4 points of the season, but I can't go against Richmond at the G. I think they'll bounce back from the loss against Collingwood.
Yep.
Now, the Saints are hosting the Suns Saturday night at Marvel. It's hard to go past the Saints now, isn't it?
Yeah, they're just playing so well, man.
Just wonder whether their injuries are going to catch up with them now. If Mason Wood doesn't play and Webster doesn't play, how can they? They're versing a VFL team.
Well, it's more so been their structure and their energy and aggression on the ball that's gotten them over the line in most of these games. So as long as guys like Dan Butler and Higgins are providing that goal threat.
Yeah,
I
Brad
don't know.
Crouch and Seb Ross winning some clearances. Yeah, and and even Rowan Marshall, doing his contributions. I'm happy with St Kilda as well.
Happy to back in the Saints, but I think it's a golden opportunity for the Suns to go back to back. I think.
That'd be huge. And yeah, good on them. We shouldn't just dismiss them fully. They've beaten the reigning premiers, so well done to them. But I think the Saints in their form at home, we'd be silly to tip against them. Okay, Swans hosting Port at the SCG. Both teams disappointing losses. Sydney at home.
Yeah, Sydney at home. I think.
Well, how I feel about.
I was gonna say, I'll go for Port just so you can have your little say.
Yeah, there's not much else left to say, but Sydney's going to continue to assist North Melbourne getting as high as possible draft pick. So
That's it.
let's go. The
Welcome Harley
Swannies.
Reid via Port Adelaide.
Sydney should win that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, they actually should, for sure. Okay, now on Sunday, the Bombers are hosting the
Ooh.
Giants at Marvel.
Oh.
Bombers, look, they showed good character to stay in the game at certain points against the Saints. GWS almost pulled off an upset against Carlton.
I think the Giants are a pretty good team. I think they played their best footy this round. And is it Marvel, you said?
It is Marvel.
So the weather won't affect the performance. It'll be a cleaner game. I think I'm happy to back in the Giants. Also, I don't like Essendon. I don't know if I've made that clear.
I think we've all made that clear. We're not
I've
huge.
given Essendon a bit of stick over the weeks, but this will be the first time I'm actually tipping them. So come on, the Bombers. Get it done. Don't let me down.
I've got to do the tiebreaker. I'm happy to go with the Bombers as well. Yeah, it's a real reluctant one, but we'll go with the Bombers.
Teams that are probably evenly matched, will probably finish around. So it's hard to pick, but
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then the Eagles hosting the Demons at Optus Stadium. I think
This one is my NAW null of the week.
null of the week.
All the injuries that West Coast have. This, I feel like I'm really picking on them right now, but I have to. This is a new thing. The null of the week. I got to get this right. Melbourne, do your thing. Do your thing. Let's go.
yeah,
Look, it's hard to go against that.
that's got to be a
this week.
certainty.
Yeah.
Your brother can tip on that one. Can
Yeah.
make his
That's
money
it.
back.
He can. We'll allow him to bet on that one. You can bet on Matz's null of the week.
Fair enough.
That's
Fair
it.
enough. And then we close out the round on Easter Monday.
18th versus 17th.
18th. Yeah, geez. Geelong,
Whoa.
Hawthorn. Geelong 0-3. Hawthorn 1-2. So Hawthorn are on top of the Cats at this point in time.
Who would have thought that these dudes would be at the bottom like 5 years ago, man?
I'll tell you what,
5,
though, as
6 years
well.
ago.
I mean, when both teams were at their peak, this was always a cracking game. And then they both sort of weren't, especially Hawthorn, but
Yeah.
still somehow managed to be a decent game for the most part. So I don't know. I think you'd look at it and say, okay, Geelong's going to bounce back. They're way better than Hawthorn.
They
But
need to respond. So.
they need to respond. But there's a world where Hawthorn wins this. I'm just saying. I'm going to go the Hawks.
I think there's no chance.
I'm gonna
that
go the
Geelong
Hawks.
goes 0-4. That's
It's-
that's my no.
It's a hard
That's
narrative
your
to
no.
sell.
That's your no. Well, so
is that a
he's
hard
gone
narrative to
Geelong.
sell, is it, George?
I was gonna say I think it's a really hard narrative to sell
It's almost impossible
for Geelong
to,
to go 0. It is impossible to sell, man.
You're tempting fate here, George.
Yeah,
Look, I think Geelong will be too mature. I think they'll win this game.
yeah. I'm with you, Georgie. Geelong's
Fair
gonna
enough.
get this one.
Fair enough. Well, look, boys, I think that takes us through the review of last week and our tips for this week. Anyone have any additional comments of the round? Any other talking points you want to get to?
Well, I've just got here. Geelong only scored 1 point from stoppages, and that's their lowest ever since it's been recorded. That stat, it's the lowest ever. So I just confidently backed in Geelong to beat the Hawks, but I might look like a fool. I don't know.
Well,
And was that your no?
That was my no.
That was your no.
No, they should still get it done.
Yeah, no.
They'll score more than 1 point from stoppage, I think.
Yeah, surely danger. Someone's just got to respond. Someone's got to, just jay up the lads, and it should be danger. Get him in the guts, get him firing. Like what Bont did for the Bulldogs this week. He's got to do that for the Geelong.
fair enough. And I guess we will record probably after that game on Monday evening, so you can expect the pod out probably Monday night, if anything, Tuesday morning.
Yep.
Please like and subscribe to the podcast, obviously. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify if you're listening there. You can find us on Twitter at EnjoyersAFL, Instagram as well, AFL Enjoyers. Hopefully making a Facebook page soon as well, so look out for that. But thanks very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.